G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR and welcome to a bit of a different video tonight. We'll call it a 3-in-1 video. We're going to look through the teams. Now I never really do this, I'll leave this to other people, but given the fact it's just after 7 o'clock, teams have come out, I thought I'll quickly go through that with you. Then we'll get to the mailbag questions from the Swordplay potty. Apologies if you did watch the potty, we did get a little bit loose, went off the rails slightly there, and Janeth wasn't there to keep us in line, unfortunately, so make sure that you do check that out if you haven't. But as you would have known if you did check it out, we did not get to the mailbag, so I did promise I'll do a separate video just for that, so I'll get to all those questions as well. And then in regards to the stocky, well, it's becoming less and less relevant, isn't it? You know, people are running out of trades. There's not much that we can do with our sides these days. But in the mailbag, there are a few questions such as, I think the great man Janeth wanted options under 555k. I think it was Benny wanted some options under 530. Even some pods possibly to start next year. So I'll go through all that sort of stuff and use that as a bit of a stock market for the week anyway. So let's get into it. Let's check out these teams. I've had a quick look through. I don't think there's any major sort of news. I'll just flick right to the bottom here. So Friday night game, we've got the Doggies against the Tigers at Marvel, 7:50. In comes Jones, O'Donnell, Richards, out Cleary, omitted. Bruce with a knee, really unfortunate there. Keith with concussion, and Garden with some soreness. So in regards to SuperCoach relevance, well, I don't think anyone's really got Jones anymore. Not too many coaches would have Richards. And O'Donnell, maybe cover for a couple of people that have still got him on the bench, I suppose, but I don't think there's too much there we need to discuss. For Richmond, Bauer's back in, so that's fantastic. Remember, got a couple of touches early in his debut game. Ping to Hammy, heels out, so great to see he's forced his way back into the side. Cumberland, Nank and Short return, so some nice ins there for the Tigers. Out goes Banks, Miller, Mansell and Cochin, who's been managed. Probably the big one here is Dusty. I don't know a heap of coaches that own Dusty, but for those that do have him as a pod, this may hurt you a little bit. Unfortunate, but soreness, hopefully it's just for the week. And the great man will be back next week. Sub was Coulthard. Does he come in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he'll come into the 22, which would be good for him. Saturday, we've got Essendon versus West Coast. So should be a decent game, you'd think, for the Bombers here. Sardis, is that how you pronounce it? I always butcher this name, but really exciting for Dons fans. Too late, unfortunately, for SuperCoach, and this is a little bit frustrating for me because we could have potentially got him as a nice cheap option next year, but given the fact he may play a few games to end the season, he won't come at a rookie price. So, unfortunate from a SuperCoach perspective, but yeah, as I said, great for Essendon supporters. Davies omitted as well as Snelling there. For West Coast, McGovern comes back in, that's really strong in, as well as Rotham. Out goes Hearn, who's been managed. Great career banger, congratulations mate. He's obviously announced his retirement during the week. Bazo out as well. And Sheed, I was listening to SEN on the way home and apparently he may be out for the season with that foot, which would be really unfortunate. Yo comes into the 22 after being the sub last week. 140 at the Adelaide Oval, we've got the Crows and the Suns. In comes Borlase, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that one right. Debut game for him, good luck son. And Michele comes back as well after suspension. Out goes the Ped, managed, he's had a ripper season, Luke Pedler. Sloaney as the sub, and Butts with that foot injury. For the Suns, this is a big one, isn't it? Out goes Tukey. So, we did discuss this in the Swordplay potty last night. I did clip about a 30-second little clip, and I put that on Twitter. I think it was about 20 minutes ago, so check that out. Brent's quick opinion on the issue. A little bit funny there, but out Tuke goes, and in none for now. So I'm guessing the sub Farah would now be in the 22. Hawthorn, so a few changes here. In comes Cozzy Reeves, Morrison and Scrimshaw. Not SuperCoach relevant. Out is Bramble, Meek, McKenzie, who no one's got anymore, Frost and Brockman. So not much relevance there. Blanc was the sub. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He should come into the 22. Hopefully good news for the Sis Dog as well. Collingwood, in comes Hill and Ash Johnson. Out goes Markov, omitted. The big Coxie has been omitted as well, so pretty good for Darcy Cameron. Not that it really matters anyway. He plays that number 1 ruck role regardless of whether or not Coxie's in the side. And Hoskin Elliott out as a sub last week. On to Geelong and Port. This will be a ripper of a game. Really looking forward to this one at GMHBA Stadium, 7:25. In comes the Rat King, out Blitzarved with a hamstring, and the Tomahawk with a hamstring as well. I think he was listed as short term, whatever that means. Sub was O'Connor, assuming he now comes into the 22. For Port, in comes Jonas and Rioli. The two outs here are really obvious. That's Aaliyah and Jones with concussion. Again, Brent gives his take on that as an Adelaide supporter. Check out the potty if you want to listen to that. And Evans omitted. Thought he actually played a half-decent game. Was it last week, or might have been thinking about the week before? But possibly a little bit unlucky, but obviously just warming Rioli's spot. The Giants and the Swans, so big rivalry game here. A lot on the line as well. This should be an absolute cracking game, to be honest. In comes Green, so that's fantastic for blokes like Spills that have been holding on to this fella for the last 3 weeks. I flicked him as many did a few weeks ago when it was first announced. In comes Hogan as well. That's always a great in for GWS, not necessarily Supercoach. Out goes Cumming as a sub. Geez, a bit of a fall from grace, isn't it, for Isaac there? Not sure what's going on with him. I thought a lot of it was to do with Himmelberg, forcing him back there until he re-signs. They're just going to chuck him forward now. They probably should. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? Not funny for me as an owner, though. Angwin goes out, as well as Cadman, the number 1 pick from this year. The Swannies, in comes Francis, and Hickey gets a run in the ruck. No Peanut. What an absolute surprise. Out Rampy with a calf. The great Buddy Franklin. Talk about a magnificent career. Is he the best of all time? There's arguments for it. The best modern day player, yeah, very, very close to, if not definitely. Gary Ablett Jr., very hard to go past for mine, but personal opinion there. McInerney out with the calf as well. Then onto the Sunday, and Clark was a sub. He should come in there. On to the Sunday games now, so no real outs here, apart from maybe a couple of omissions and injuries. But for North, Powell, Lazaro and Cunnington come in, not into the 22, but just on the list there. Grundy, Spargo, Hibbert and Sparrow out. Woden omitted. A little bit unlucky there, son. I still don't think Grundy gets a game, just personal opinion. In comes Hill, King, Hayes, Membry to the squad. Out goes Jones with that knee for the Sainters. And the Blues, into the squad comes Fisher, Curnow, Durden, Binns and Honey. Out goes Cherry with a hamstring. Think that might be a couple of weeks, as well as Mitch McGovern with a hamstring. For Freo, I think this is the last game. Freo coming up against my boys at 2:40. That will be WA time, I'm pretty sure. In Cox, Johnson and Wilson to the squad. Out none at the moment. And for my boys, the Lions, in comes Fort, Robertson, Pryor, Fullerton and Zach the Rat Bailey. Out the big O with an ankle. And Kitty Coleman copped a football to the face. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but apparently a bit of an eye injury, out for a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, Daniel Rich also has some hamstring tightness. I don't know if it's tightness or an slight issue with his hammy. So, yeah, he won't be coming into the 22 this week. Fort is an absolute given, I think, for Big O there. And then, obviously, it's going to be Zach Bailey. So, Fort and Bailey will come in for the Big O and Coleman. I'll say the Pryor or Robertson as the sub. Hopefully, it's Dev Rob. I love Dev. So, they are the teams. As I mentioned, nothing really Supercoach relevant there. So, teams are done. Let's get on to the Twitter Q&A. Got the tab here. Oh, there's that little clip that I was talking about there with Brent. All right. I've got a quick one here, sorry. Just the one. This is a separate post here. Oh, my man, AFL Doodles, make sure you give this legend a follow. He's an absolute champion. So, I'll just get a little bit bigger here, so we can see properly. Alright, how are you, legend? Hope that you're well, mate. Alright, is there anything I should be doing with my remaining trades? Oh, you got 3 in the bank, mate, with 48,800, if you don't mind. Alright, so you got Dake, Stewart, Sistod, Dawson, Sinclair, Wanganeen, Miller up. Pretty good backline there, mate. Chester Constable, okay, Bont, Laird, Track, Zerrett, Brayshaw, Neil, Rao, Took, Miller. So possibly Took. Let's have a look. Sharpie, Roberts, Bytel. Got Big Kizza there, who's slowing down slightly. Rowan Marshall. Most coaches seem to have him these days. Dunkley, Goulden, Rosie, Cogs, Taranto, Cameron. That's all good. Seamus Harris, some nice cover. Got subbed. There's a bit of a tactical one, which is unfortunate. Marrick there with the 54 from last week. All right, so 3 trades left. Supercoach finals. You don't want to blow them all this week, mate. Well, you can anyway because you haven't got a boost by the looks of it. Do you try to upgrade to a real primo, that ultra type primo? Do you try to get a Briggs up to an English, a Briggs up to a Gorn? That's certainly a move you could look to make. Certainly a luxury trade there, mate. Probably the one for me. Now, he's only missing a week. This is the issue. He's only missing a week, but who's your cover going to be? Now, you don't want to rely on, well, you can't rely on Constable. You cannot rely on Chesser, mate. You can't rely on these three, nor him. So you're really looking at a Mitchell or a Marrick type. Now, Mitchell, you're a little bit paranoid about probably, mate, because you can obviously use some DPP around here. You're a little bit paranoid after him being subbed out last week. Marrick, well, you're looking, between let's say a 30 and a 60. Let's just say there. So, being the first week of finals, I would actually be tempted to move this great man on. You've got 48,800. What's Took there? 505. So you have over 550k, mate. Maybe stick around for some of the other questions, particularly the inverted commas there, stock market section of the video, and we'll go through some potential options that you may look to actually bring in around that price, mate. I think that's around Janeth's price point at the moment that he's looking at, so we will go through some options there, mate. But look, yeah, wouldn't do anything really apart from Took Miller, or potentially trying to get Briggsy up to one of the two big boys, mate. Thank you very much for that, legend. All right, I might go a little bit smaller now. Need to find the other tweet. Now that's the thumbnail. I got the parental advisory there. That's my man Brent. Unfortunately, during the editing process, I chopped off bloke's ears. So sorry about that, mate. Your ears are missing. Oh, this is pretty cool. I'm here as well. So somehow this is like the absolute Stephen Bradbury type situation operation going on here. In Divi 1 of AFL Doodles League, the ADSFL, I'm somehow fourth, and I knocked the great Janeth, the Jacks of all trade, out of a double chance by point. Jeez, that is shocking, isn't it? 0.1%. Sorry about that, mate, but some great competition there. Really, really great job that you've been doing for that, mate. Well done. Thank you very much. Awesome stuff to Sean Davies. Well done, mate. Shout out to you, Ange. Love all the stuff you do, Ange. All right, here we are here. This is the tweet we're looking for. So let's just go a little bit smaller there. All right, so this is from Benny. Hi, dear. Hope you well, mate. You too, legend. Thank you very much. And this, I think, was a DM. Any chance you can discuss best defensive and forward options, 530k and under this week? Cheers, Ben. Absolutely, I will, mate. I might just get to more of the individual ones, mate. Save that for more of the stocky type discussion. I will get to that in a sec, legend. Thanks for that, mate. Next one is Jack. Oh, hey, brother. Final trades of the year. Who would be the best upgrade? Mills, Tom Mitchell, or Himmelberg. Can I think to bring anyone in? So you're looking to get these guys out. Okay, so Mills has been super, super disappointing, hasn't he, mate? Mitchell, look, Himmelberg's probably one that you just want to get rid of, isn't he, mate, to be quite honest? But you're probably liking his DPP. You might have swings. If you've got swings with Himmelberg, I'd probably just hold on to him, mate. It'd be out of probably these two if you do want to keep him for swings. And if you're basing it off form, well, he's been terrible lately. Titches has been the sub. Oh, mate, it's almost like toss a coin, isn't it? Can afford to bring anyone in. That's fantastic for you. Maybe just look at some fixtures here, mate. But I'd really be tempted to almost flick Mills, I think, at this stage, mate. It's a tough one. All three are really underperforming. But after what we saw last week, almost goodbye Callum. In saying that, he's got the best ceiling out of the lot there. Yeah, very tough one there, mate. All the best, buddy. Ange, how are you, mate? Left field starters for 2024. If you have any, lads, we talked a little bit about this. Shorty brought up a really interesting name last week, which I will repeat, Ange. Again, I'll get to this one more in the stocky section, Ange. Thank you very, very much. Next one is from H. How are you, buddy? G'day, dear. Could you, lads, give us some ideas about the VCC scenarios this week for the first week of the finals? We covered that a lot last week. In the potty, actually, brother. So, yeah, I reckon for the last 15 odd minutes, it was all about the VCs and the captains each. So went through it in a bit of detail there, mate. Went through the fixture times, all the rest. So check that out, brother. And hopefully you can find a decent option for what it's worth, man. I'm most likely going Zeret into Trek this week. I think that's a pretty nice combo. Zeret against the Eagles. Only I may go to him, but I'm having a crack anyway, mate. Because wouldn't you be kicking yourself if he goes to 150 and you're like, I didn't VC Zeret against the Eagles. What on earth was I thinking type things. And then Track, you look at his history, he's gone really well against North. And in current form, he's pretty hard to go past, isn't he, mate? Midfield role / forward role, I think that'll be pretty nice against North. So that's my combo anyway, mate. Do not go Nick Dacos, I don't think, this week. McGuinness tag, very, very dangerous. Good on you, H. Hopefully you can get something out of that anyway, buddy. Cheers, man. Next one, and I'll tell you what, 2 legendary members as well, H and this man, Corey, the ladies' man, Black Legion. G'day, Causa. Seems like in 2024, Causa says, English will be over 710k. Do you think we can start both of Sicily and Dacos? So, could you start English, Sicily, and Dacos? Absolutely, if you want, buddy. Absolutely, if you want. But I'll definitely be starting Dacos. If he's a defender, is basically the first lock with this man, Tim English, I think. As a non-owner, it's been an absolute killer causer, but you are paying a lot with those 3 players. Sicily's probably someone that I will avoid starting. I'd be a lot more concerned not having Dacos in the side as compared to the Sis Dog. So I would go English and Dacos for next year. If you're really keen on Sicily, absolutely go for it, mate. But I wouldn't be starting all 3 personally, causer. All the best, brother. Next one is from Miller Time. How are you, my man? Why do the Lions always let me down, DR? Why? In brackets. Not a SuperCoach question. More a super persistent question. Oh, man, tell me about it. Hasn't it been frustrating? And look, when we say hasn't it been frustrating, you look at North, West Coast, some of these clubs, mate. So life isn't all that bad, is it? But it seems like, mate, every time we can grab onto that top 2 spot, we just don't want it. We just don't want it. You know, Hawthorn, the Bulldogs, yeah, these type of teams, you know, that 1 point loss to Melbourne. Come on. Oh, it hurts, doesn't it? And the Suns last week, mate, to be honest, we just got beaten up. Little brother beat big brother up, you know. Some of the tactics weren't quite to the rules, as we've seen from Tuke Miller. Love Tuke, though. And look, for anyone, I did put a bit of a tweet up there. I love Tuke. I like him more than Zorko, believe it or not. And the trademark doesn't even play for the Lions. I am Tuke's #1 fan. Believe me, I love the man. So, yeah, there's no hate from me from Tuke. Zorko is a bit of a pest, I know. But, mate, I don't know. I don't know why they let us down during these times. I reckon we're outcoached as well. Now, it's going to be a huge discussion at the end of the year about Chris Fagan. Now, I love the man. I love the man. The questions are, does he have the tactical nous? People may say, well, that's up to the assistant coaches. Have we got the right assistant coaches? Look, I think we've got a really good group. And, look, if we were lucky enough to somehow bring home the cup this year, then we're not questioning anything really, are we? But, yeah, I think it's a question that we need to sit down and ask ourselves at the end of the year, depending on how we end up going anyway, mate. But I wish I knew the answer, mate. Just come on, get another win in Melbourne, would you? Like I've seen us lose, as I said, the point to Melbourne, to the bloody Hawks. Great that I got to catch up with Steve from SDS Supercoach there. The Dogs, these, it's just carnage. Carnage as a Victorian Brisbane supporter watching them live. Thanks for that, mate. I feel your pain, though, brother. Feel your pain, but not complaining too much. Our next one is from Legend. We actually had Dan on the community swordplay potty the week before last. So shout out to you, Legend. It was awesome to chat with you, man. A lot have spoken about #1 locks for 2024, but I'm interested to know your opinions on some left field players. So basically the same question as Ange. The locks for your team next year. If he maintains his dual position even status, I'll be starting Will Wilday. In my defence, he's that keen, he's named him twice. Tom Green will also be a lock. Very, very interesting, mate. Something Spills was saying on last night's potty, one of his lessons learned, is that he's actually going to be avoiding these type of players like your Days, like your Greens. He's going right to the top, just locking those Uber-type picks. So I think that, you know, when we say a breakout, Will Day's had his breakout year this year. Tom Green's also had his breakout year. We're looking now for uber breakouts. So you've got your breakouts and other breakouts. There's different tiers of breakouts, in my opinion, anyway. So in order to be starting someone like Will Day next year at the price, you'll need to be really, really confident, I think anyway, mate, that he can push in at least to the top 8 by the end of the year. So I love him as a player. And hasn't he come good over the last 6 weeks as well? Tom Green, I actually started this year, so all fine with that. But in regards to left field players, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but I'm not looking to go too many left field, to be honest, mate. I'm looking to just go pretty safe, I think, with my starting picks and then add a little bit of spice as the year progresses anyway. So that's probably going to be my plan, but we'll discuss a few more after we get to some of these other questions, Dan. Thanks for that, buddy. I won't heart that yet because I know I'll need to come back to it. Next one is from Phil. G'day, Phil. How are you, brother? Okay, keeping in with not SuperCoach questions. Will I beat Sicilicious in our $100 Cashier League? PS, last week's potty worked great, very enjoyable, and that was the community potty. Thank you very much, Phil, and congrats for making the finals, mate. I reckon, Phil, this was the league where I finished 9th. Shattered, mate. Absolutely shattered. I've got the player research here. Let's go to game day, mate. So, So, Cash League. So, I reckon it's going to be this one here, mate. All right, so here's let's have a look at your teams, your uniques. I'll just quickly go down the bottom, mate, just to see. So, no, best 22 on the bench. Weddle. Oh, so you've got Green. Franklin. Sicilicious has Franklin. Man, that's random. I don't reckon I've seen Franklin in the side. So Franklin's out anyway. Tom Green comes back into this side for in the midfield. So it might be maybe for a Thomas type. All right, Dacos there you both got. All right, Phil. So you've got Sicily, Track, Marshall, Hewitt as your 4 uniques versus Steele, let's just say Green, Zeret, and English. All right, so English always worries me, mate. I hate coming up against Tim English, but you do have the Sis Dog, and unbelievably here, David Sicilicious does not have James Sicily. Criminal, absolutely criminal. You've got Track, who I really like against North Melbourne. Carlton, Marshall, that should be a pretty good matchup. I think they, mate. Hewitt, look, really disappointing last week, but Carlton do have a couple out, so he may bounce back. And Dunkley's unique, just depending on what you do with your captain. So, oh, look, mate, it is going to come down to the absolute wire. What would worry me is this matchup. Well, I suppose these even matchups. So you've got Zeret against West Coast, Track against North. All right, cancel them out. Sicily against English. Toss a coin, mate. Well, look, you can see the difference there in scores. Maybe that's taking the captains. With Tom Green back, it's going to be a tough win for you, mate, I think. I'll give it to you by 2 points there, Phil. 2 points to you, mate. All the best of luck with it, my man. All right, we'll go back to players for when we get to it. Good on you, Phil. Cheers, man. Oh, one of my favourite people ever, Julian Crazy Frogs. How are you, brother? Thanks for all the great content this year. Hope you continue next year. Oh, mate, well, just a lovely comment there. Thank you very much, my man. And, mate, if you've got time in the next few weeks, we would love to have you on this Swordplay Potty, buddy. If you'd like to, the feedback we've got last time we had you on was just fantastic, mate. So we would love you to be on if you've got the time, brother. Thanks again, Jules. I appreciate that, mate. Here's a goat here. The Professor, Mr. Janeth Fernando himself. My brother, how are you, mate? So Janeth was after best picks across any line under 555k. So I'll go through that in a minute, mate, when we get to the stocky section. Our next one is from Watermelon Cruiser, one of the best names on Twitter, I reckon. When's the right time to pounce with the final trade of the year? Relatively happy with the team so far, only 14k in the bank, so can't upgrade the likes of Sheasel Day or Briggs. Would you save it for injuries? Currently have Harrison Himmelberg and Decamp as cover for all 4 lines. Oh, mate, you are flying at the moment. I would 120% keep that trade in the bank, mate. You've already said here you're happy with your side. You've got Himmelberg and Decamp as cover. That's bloody brilliant. Absolutely, I would save that trade, mate. I would save the trade. You don't want to just waste it now for the sake of it. And then, you know, someone like a Petrarca, a Bont, whatever goes down, and then you're like, bugger. If I'd have kept it, could have traded him out for another Uber. So I would definitely hold on to that one, mate. Again, just my opinion, though. All the best of luck, bud. Got a couple left here. We got my man Harvey Sutherland. G'day, Harves. Thoughts on LDU as an option right now and going into next year? Form is identical to what it was last year, and his scoring has been consistent when he isn't playing injured. That's the big issue with the pick, isn't it, mate? He's injured all the time, it seems. But look, as an option right now, it's hard to deny him, isn't it? I think his 3-round average, or is it 3 or 5-round average, is right up there at the pointy end of the comp at the moment. So, look, I'm always going to be worried about durability. But if you take that out the window and you've got, let's just say, some half-decent cover in case disaster does strike, then I would absolutely go for it. I think he's a fine pick. Going into next year, look, I'll certainly consider him. Certainly consider him. But if I'm going for someone that hasn't got, let's just say, uber scoring history for 2+ years, then I need to make sure that everything else is rosy, everything else is right. And just that durability risk, slightly, just my gut is slightly put off by that. But the talent is absolutely undeniable. If I'm confident in his body, then absolutely. Remember, I didn't start Tim English this year because I was worried about his body, about his durability, and he has stuck it right up me there, Harvey. So, look, LDU could come back next year and not miss a game. If that's the case, I think it'd be a ripping selection, mate. Don't know what his price is going to be like because he's really hit form. Remember, he went through that really slow patch there for a while. Started off those first 2 games. People brought him in. Won't even mention that carnage. But things haven't gone too well after those first couple of games. But the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks, he's been super. So certainly wouldn't rule him out, mate. But certainly would not lock him in either. And last one we've got for now is from Nini. G'day, mate. How you going, buddy? Who to VC in fantasy? If you can, dear. It's Nini. Very disappointed about my SuperCoach this year as injuries have really costed me. Very harsh, mate, isn't it? And made me not interested for the rest of the season. Yeah, really unfortunate, mate. It does take a bit of the fun out of it sometimes when you're just smashed by injury. Better luck next season, I guess. Absolutely, mate. You'll come home next season, mate. You'll have a really strong season. I'm sure about that. Now, mate, I've got to be honest. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I would not like to sit here and pretend that I know anything about fantasy. I just don't, mate. I'll be honest as well, and I hate doing this, but I've got an absolute ghost team in fantasy. I'm just so SuperCoach focused, and I'd even get the little notification, fantasy team or whatever, someone's out on the phone, but I just go, okay, yeah, I'll get to it. I'm usually doing something SuperCoach related, and it's a bit of a ghost team. I just haven't made trades. I know you can each week, all that sort of business, but I just don't keep up with it, mate. So, look, there are so many great members of the community. Maybe send JD a tag, mate. Maybe tag JD. Yes, not only is he having a ripping season in SuperCoach, well done to you, legend, but he's also having a pretty decent season in fantasy as well. So all the blokes in Fantasy Take TV, I know, have a bit of a dabble in it. So maybe check out one of those guys, mate. I could not tell you, and I would not want to send you down the garden path, mate. Look, in SuperCoach, obviously, it's Zeret into track for me. I'm assuming Zeret's going to be a good fantasy pick or VC, but with someone like Track maybe being a more contested style of game, I'm just not too sure, mate. So, yeah, sorry I can't really help you there, but hopefully I've sent you the right direction of who to go to for that sort of advice, buddy. So that's it, isn't it? That is it for the questions. So we've got Benny here looking for defensive and forward options under 530k, some left field starters, and then some more left field starters next year, locks for next year, and then Janeth, my man, any line under 555k. So we'll probably start at that point, 555k, then we can go that 530k mark for Benny there. All right, I know what you guys can see, how well you can see this. All right. So let's start having a flick through here. We're going to sort by highest price and just go to that 555k mark. We are skipping lots of the uber elite type picks here. 555, you're still probably getting some decent players, I reckon. I just haven't been keeping up with the prices lately, scoring trends, patterns. It's what happens at the end of the season, isn't it? All right, well, you can't go your man Charlie, unfortunately, Janeth. All right, you can go Sean Darcy, but no good if that bloke's out for the rest of the season. You got Rowan. Okay, so let's look at options here, man. Shea, now, you know that I brought him into my side, mate. The 5-round average isn't actually too bad here. Now, that's 5-round, isn't it? Just let me get my bearings right again. Sorry, mate. So you've got your 3 and your 5 and then your average. Okay. Yeah, look, I wouldn't... I just reckon he's a little bit too risky, mate. We know what he's... sorry. Stuffed this up, haven't I? 555. We know what his ceiling's like, and that's absolutely terrific. But at the price, I think there are some safer options, personally, mate. My brother brought in this bloke last week. He has been on an absolute tear. Now, when we talk about safe options, I think he is actually pretty safe, Janeth, for 100. What I noticed last week is that he really did slap his scoring in the last quarter, but again, early in the game, on track for record intercept marks. When's that record going to be broken? It seems like every week there's some defender that's getting close. Yeah, they're going to get there this week. Doesn't seem to happen. Don't know. But as a real pod, mate, a defender, I reckon he's gone 5 tons in a row, this fella. I'm going to say 5 tons in a row. Yeah, he has. So we've got a 118, a 117, a 130, a 121, and a 107 against the Dogs last week. So really consistent, isn't it? Well, that's between a 107 to a 130 for 5 weeks straight. And what I find amazing is the fact that he missed so much football here. You know, he came back for that 43, but then he just has not missed a beat, has he? Well, decent history in the last game against the Swannies there. Not so much here, but he really hasn't been known for his SuperCoach score in the past. We've got Port, Essendon, and Carlton as opponents coming up. Look, mate, if you're basing this off the last 5 weeks, then he could be a real decent shout as a pod. Did work out well for Rick last week. Greeny wouldn't go there. Sinclair, I know you've got. Look, I'd recommend him as a player to other people at the price. Brad Crouch is a real pod, isn't he? Now, according to Spills, McGuinness actually went to Crouch last week after the first quarter because he was getting off the chain a little bit. So I think he's been inconsistent, hasn't he? Oh, no, not really. Not really. I was probably focusing on these 2 sub-tons. But look, we're going 104, 123, 106, 102, bang up to 134. Couple of 90s. That is not a bad floor whatsoever. 101 and a 117. What I'm not seeing here is a ceiling. So we've got the 134 there. Keep in mind, against West Coast, we'd be disappointed if the bloke isn't going to 130. So probably, yeah, you'd call him a safe pick. But due to lack of ceiling, probably not someone that I'd be going for anyway myself. Cogs, look, you could, I suppose. Nothing too exciting. Klug, it's funny. I was actually expecting him to get much more midfield time last week, and I think the bloke started in the square, in the forward line, like he was our starting full forward. Don't know what is going on there. Old man Fags, old man Fags must have lost his mind, I think. Probably not for the consistency, I don't think. Jack Viney. Now, you couldn't really with Clary looking to come back potentially next week, but if you're looking here, again, no real disasters. You don't love an 86 and a 76. You'd like to see more hundreds there, wouldn't you? These gaps here, and again, 94 isn't terrible, but 86, 76, we don't want to be seeing them. I suppose the bookends aren't too bad there, but probably not for me. I think you could maybe even go on Anderson. I know he's got the snowflake there. Very cold. 11.4%. Yeah, look, it hasn't been a fantastic last 5 weeks. Now, this bloke's a pod. The last 3 weeks, Lockie Whitfield. He's also taken the most kick-ins in the last 3 weeks as well. Last week, I think he had 6. But if you look at these last 3 weeks from Lockie, you've got a 115, a 133, sorry. You've got a 115, a 133, and a 137. If we look at his fantasy stats, $28, $25, and 36. So that's interesting, isn't it? So he's had very similar scores with 25 and then all the way up to 36 as well. And we don't get much more information there. Obviously, he's used the ball really, really well here. Been damaging, score involvements. This one here, 28, 115. Not too bad whatsoever. Now, I'm never a fan of Lockie Whitfield, just due to his durability. He just always misses games of football. So, not someone that I would like to rely on. But similar to Taylor, a real pod. 2.2% of sides. This is overall, keep in mind. So, yeah, it could be a decent shout. Could be a decent shout. Treloar had a massive game last week, but again, you know, the Whitfields, the Treloars of the world, durability, it's just always going to play in the back of your mind. Do you really want that for your SuperCoach finals for the last month of the season? Do you want to be worrying about if your player is going to all of a sudden just go down with a soft tissue injury, or in Whitfield's case, geez, a poke in the eye or a ingrown toenail, a kidney injury, he gets weird and injured in weird ways, Lockie Whitfield. So personally for me, I just wouldn't want that stress. I just want to lock in a safer type player and just, well, not know, injury can occur any time, but be more certain or more sure or more confident that they're actually going to play for the next 4 weeks. Walsh is obviously gone, so maybe one of the players that we're looking, or Janice even looking to trade out this week. Actually is, I know that he is actually. This man, Luke Parker, now, it's hard to recommend a man after he gets a 45, but keep in mind, he has been really, really consistent to date. A super pod. He really hasn't given too many bad games. He's had a couple of flawed games, yeah, in this period. Then he goes bang right up to a 155 again, and then just out of the blue here. But if we take a look at his season, let's just say from round 6 here, just super consistent. Just 100 after 100, 77, puts 3 more hundreds on the board, 2 of those really nice captain scores, and before that 77, a really nice captain score. Then we've been a little bit dodgy here, 103, 85, 76, 155 bang, and then the 45 last week. So, oh, look, it's hard to recommend in current form. I reckon he'll definitely get up for this game here. He's a proud man. He's a tough man. He's a leader of the club. And playing the arch rivals with a finals position on the line, he's the sort of bloke that's really going to step up, in my opinion. So, I don't mind him. But again, after a 45, it's very hard to recommend, particularly as a pod, because if he duds out, you're pretty much screwed with the pick, aren't you? If you go a more of a common type player, then you're more with the crowd. He goes down, you go down, but lots of other people go down as well. This is a really obvious one for me, Zachy Butters. So Janeth actually likes this selection, I think. 134 last week. Janeth really did want to see a ceiling type game because he hasn't been going overly well, has he, Zach Butters? Now we know his body's banged up. That's his style of play. We knew this when we were selecting Zach Butters in our side. But if you look at the last month here, so we've got a couple of 80s there, lowish type 80s. That's more of a mid, I know. But then just up to the 101. So this period here, yeah, he's averaging, you know, between 80 and 90. Then we see a 101 and then a 134. So we're thinking hopefully he's going to come back. If you look overall, though, when we talk about ceilings, there's lots of these low type 100 games, isn't there? We had that massive 184 really came onto the radar. Nice 125, 139. But apart from that, you know, not really. So we've got 146, 139, 184, 139 and 134. So some decent ceiling games there, but nowhere near as regularly as what we see from other players. So given the fact he's got DPP, though, who are they coming up against? Geelong this week, then the Giants, Freo, and the Tigers. I like Zach Butters as a pick. I think he'd go a lot worse than him at the price. What's happened to Timmy Taranto? I'm not too sure. Darcy Moore, just no for me. Will Day, I'd prefer other players, to be honest, at the price. And as I go through this, Benny, as well, we are now getting to the 5:30 mark. I'll just talk about all players, but just obviously focus on those forwards and those defenders, mate. Cripper, 100 last week, but no. And shout out to Will Day as well. Terrific 5-round average there. Chad Warner with a 117. He's probably someone that I just couldn't trust. 4.6% of sides, more than Parker. I trust Parker a lot more than I trust Warner. Just personal opinion. Could be wrong on that. Rob is a ruck. I don't think anyone's looking to go there. Warple, 116. 518k. This man is in pretty decent form, isn't he? I never got onto Warple this year. Decent starting pick, though, for those that did jump on him. Dusty, 7.3%. I reckon a lot of those coaches would be ghost teams now that just started him. Maybe don't know a heap about SuperCoach and do know Dusty as a player. Unfortunate, you're not going there, though. Jack McRae, 122. So what's his recent form looking like? Haven't really been keeping up with Jack McRae. Oh, yeah, nah. No, you're not going there. Don't do it. You can't, can you? Look, in the last month, he's turned up once, which was last week against the Giants. All the dogs seem to get up, didn't they, for that one? English, Bont. Well, Bont wasn't a great score from Bont. Libba, nice score. Jeez, he does have Richmond, Hawthorn and West Coast. The issue is he's not getting CBAs. He's not being played as a midfielder. He's just no good to us, unfortunately, Jack McRae. That really hurts, doesn't it? Jack McRae as a forward, 516k. Who thought that we would see the day? Or not yet, anyway. Too early. Shorty, come back from injury. Really, really risky. But look, you could go there for an ultra pot, I suppose. Rowley, 109. Look, maybe with 2k out, he could hit form again. Ridley is gone for the moment. Josh Kelly, I can never recommend Josh Kelly. But if you are someone that wants an absolute roller coaster, if you want to get a raffle ticket, flip a coin, you could win a really, really nice prize. Or you could get a bag of dog doo-doo with Josh Kelly. You're going to get one or the other, it seems, with this man. I just can't ever recommend him, even though he's one of the most talented players in the league. It's really unfortunate. I just can't do it, though. We just get sucked into him each and every year. So, no, don't go there. Don't go Josh Kelly. Don't do it to yourself. Watch him just pump out massive scores now that I say that. Ashy is gone for the season. I won't cry on the tally like Harrison. Harrison's teammate, Angus Brayshaw, he's been safe enough. Again, not a player that you're going to get a massive ceiling with, but 82, I reckon, should be his floor. With Clary coming back, we'll see what happens there. Rioli is a real pod. Again, I'd probably just put him in the same camp as Brayshaw there. Nicky Newman with a 137. So just a little note to Mason Cox. Now, Coxie, you were looking at this man's number to find out who he was the other week. Well, here's Nick Newman, 137 points this week. You'll be able to watch him from home on the tally, mate, because you've been omitted, Mason. And I'll tell you what, Brent gave him a lovely drive-by on the saw play potty as well. So I must admit, I'm not a huge fan of Coxie. I'm not a huge fan of Coxie. Just, again, personal opinion, but bad luck, Mason. Omitted. How to get to him? Newman. That's right. Took, gone. Sorry, son. You know I love you, but you can't be grabbing a man's toolbox, as Brent would say, and hope to get away with it, mate. Goldie will be coming up against Maxi this week. I hope that Goldie is very quiet so Max can dominate. Mitch Duncan, there's no way I can recommend him. No way. Will Powell, 105. Again, just, I don't think there's any reason to go someone like Will Powell. I'd more than happily get a Sheasel over him if you haven't got him. This is a bloke here. So, Darcy Cameron, what has this man done to me? What has this man done to me? Carted off on a golf cart and then comes back like he's the absolute messiah. So, he gave me a 107, a 61, and an 80. So, a real mixed bag here. And then he goes, sorry, DR, I'm going to come back with a 135 and a 127. Super unfortunate. Who's he got? Hawks, Cat. Jeez, I tell you. Damn, he's got a good ruck run. He's got a really decent ruck run. I really like. If you haven't got DCAM, he offers you a nice fixture a nice 2-round average, even 3-round average, chuck that 80 in there, and best of all, ruck cover. So it's hard to go past the man, to be honest. It is really, really hard to go past the man. And when you believe it, bloody lose money there too. That's frustrating. It is what it is, though. My decision. The Big O isn't playing. Tim Kelly, I never like him. Big Kizza, maybe one if you've got some luxuries there that you could look to upgrade as he's slowing up a lot. Bloody Nazaya. I tell you, Big Cammer, Anthony Caminiti, chatting to him pre-season, gave me the inside goss here, said this bloke will be getting the kick-ins, you watch him, he'll break out this year. And I said, beautiful, man, I'm going to start him. So this is the garbage that I get, right? And this is no disrespect to Cammer. I appreciate the info, and the man was right. It was just wrong timing, as it was. This is sort of garbage I got. And then my good mate Janeth, my good brother Janeth, jumps on around this stage, I think. 113, 100, 119. Okay, low game here. But 116, 110, 92, 94, 107. We can forgive him for these 2 low games in between all these bloody hundreds when this is what he was pumping out earlier on the season. This is an absolute killer to me. And he's just got such a terrific role, you know, on kick-in duty. I always said he's a really nice user, and he has been using it really, really well lately. At the start of the season, I don't know what on earth was going on there. So he's just timed his run at a really unfortunate time for me. If this was reversed and he had started like this, damn, you know, who knows where I'd be. That hurts. Jordan De Goey, 491. The Enigma. The man can smash it out of the ballpark or absolutely let you down. So here's a letdown. 55. Obviously, missed a few weeks after that. Another 55. Non-injury affected game. 96, 101, 113. Look, Hawthorn, Geelong, Lions and Essendon, I would probably be skipping Jordan. I wouldn't be going for Geordie. Just got too much baggage as well. You reckon I'm annoyed at Nazaya? Sam Flanders. Sam Flanders, this man. Come on, when's he going to have another dud game? Well, look, 85, I suppose. You know, 100, 119, 96, 125, 113, and an 85. Well, we're not complaining, are we? Again, this is what I cop. 64 and a 46. Stuart Dew, what were you doing to us, mate? Oh, it's a killer. Again, though, I'm really happy for Sam Flanders. Good on you, mate. The talent's always been there. We thought that the role could potentially be there after what we saw in the preseason, but yeah, I don't know what this bloke did to Stewie. Something, because he just refused to play him. Dominating the VFL. It's history now anyway. Toby Green, jeez, one of the best players in the comp. Just worries you though, doesn't it? If you want a real pod with some ceiling potential, Matt Crouch. He's probably cemented his spot now, hasn't he? Do you know what? He's someone I'd have a decent look at. I think the week before this, it was a mid-80s type score. 144. He looks super on the weekend. So if you're after a real pod at under 500k, I would rather go a Crouch over someone like De Goey. Personal opinion, though. Witho featured on the Stocky as a real pod the other week. 72. Disappointing, wouldn't go there. But keep in mind that Hearn is out this week, which means that his kicking percentage should start to rise. So, as a real pod, yeah, big risk versus reward with O. But I've got a little bit of a feeling this week that he's going to go a 110. Just a feeling, 110 for Witho this week. Blitzard with the 29 is injured anyway. Prestia, no. Martin, no. This is a bloke that I did want to have a look at, Nick Martin, because he has a couple of really nice weeks coming up. He was on a mad tear, I reckon, for 5 to 6 weeks. Where are we? 1, 2, 3. Sorry, only. Well, yeah, it was a 6-week period, wasn't it? You had your 79 in there. But 120, 129, 139, 124, 79 against Port, though. Good side. And then 127. Wowee. what a pod he was at this stage in this form. But then unfortunately, and many of his teammates were in the same boat, a 58 against Geelong down at the Cattery, I forgive him for that because, let's be honest, most of his Essendon partners there absolutely crapped the bed, didn't they? A 90 against the Dogs. They've got a mad midfield. That's okay. Nothing terrible there. And then there's 53 against Sydney. So that is a little bit of a concern. But if we look at his next 4 opponents, West Coast at Marvel, North at Marvel, GWS at Giants Stadium, and then the Pies at the G. Isn't that going to be a massive game to win the season? So we take a look at GWS, scored 97 on them earlier on in the year. And at this point in time, he wasn't in fantastic form. That was, up until his first ton of the season, that 97 was his best score to date. So that's okay. That's pretty nice. West Coast to North, well, 120 and 129. That was actually the start of his fantastic run again. So could this potentially be the start of a big month from Nick Martin? I actually think that it could be. I really think that it could be. So I really, really like these next 3 matches here. How'd he go against the Pies last time? 60. Not terrific against the Pies. Again, that was just before that really big score there. So Nick Martin in current form doesn't fill you with a heap of confidence, but his fixture, history against the same opponents earlier on in the year, his talent, his work rate, his tools to score, I actually like him as a pod selection. So you're not even paying 500k. Look, at this point here, 570, almost 580k. We're now getting him for 100 grand cheaper. And hey, it's because he's in terrible form. We know this. But given the fact he's had a great season to date, I watched him live against the Crows when I caught up with Spills and Brent. I like this selection. It doesn't make sense looking at these scores here, but I would actually advocate, if you're looking for a cheap pod in your forward line, Benny, even at around the 530k, mate, I like Nick Martin. I do like Nick Martin. This bloke here, well, he's going to give you a 50 or a 125 plus. It's going to be one or the other, I think, with Tex Walker. Will he take out the Coleman? Don't know. Big Charlie's up there as well, but 157 last week. He's thrown out 120 something. He's given us that massive, massive score that was against West Coast when I was actually at the casino watching that game with Brent. I couldn't go there myself. Look, the difference is here, I think with Martin, and this is going to sound silly because he's just given a couple of 50s. I think you'll probably get some more consistent scoring here. With Tex, I think he's obviously got the bigger ceiling and could win you a league match, but I think he could also potentially lose you a league match. This guy just seems so safe with his next 3 weeks, with his upcoming fixture. He seems a lot safer to me. Personal opinion, though. A Dale with a 139. Remember, Richards comes back this week. Is that going to affect Big Bailey? I'm not too sure. What's he done lately? Shit, that is just the definition of all over the shop, isn't it? 92, 50, 86, 139. So the bookends to those are 120, 139. Oh, look, there's no real scoring pattern there, is it? It's so hard to look at that data without being to remember right back. Remember, I'm not watching as much footy these days. I'm very busy, but with not having to do as much research for the stocky, I'm more of a casual watcher at this stage of the season. But yeah, you could. I'm not huge there, though. I'm not huge there. Like the other picks better. And you can probably not. All right, so we're getting in some sort of dicey territory now, aren't we? Dyson Heppel, no. Jager, Mitch Hinge, geez, a real pod, isn't he? Oh, I'll tell you what, poor old JD got in the helmet, and he has just done nothing for JD after looking like one of the best scorers in our defensive or forward line. So bad luck, mate. That was just a really unlucky pick there, man. Aaron Hall has announced his retirement effective immediately. So he's played his last game. I've had very much a love-hate relationship with Hawley over the years in a SuperCoach sense. Was it last year? Terrific pick for me. Terrific pick for me. But yeah, unfortunately, you just can't trust his body. At one stage, I think after the first three rounds, I reckon he had 9 Brownlow votes. looked like he was going to shit at home. But no, unfortunately, things just didn't seem to click for Hawley over his career. And the other thing we've got to keep in mind is that he was with Gold Coast when they were right down the bottom, and with North while they were struggling as well. So thanks for memories, Hawley. All the best on your next journey, buddy. I Dream of Heaney. No, look, wouldn't call it a nightmare, but it just hasn't been relevant, has he? Luke Jackson, so I still really like this pick. 87, I know isn't terrific, but coming up against Darcy Fort this week, still a decent ruckman, but here's our second choice ruckman. The Big O won't be there. Last week, only the 87, but remember, his other really big scores here did come when Big Shrek was out of the side. So 87 wasn't terrific, but again, it was down at GMS. Look, Geelong don't have a great ruckman though, do they? I'm probably making excuses for him. Comes up against West Coast. Good matchup there. Good matchup here against Port. Should be decent matchup here. And not too bad against the Hawks. So I'm still an advocate for Luke Jackson. I would probably rather go DCAM. Actually, I would rather go DCAM. A lot safer there. But let's just say that you do have DCAM. You may potentially want to get Luke Jackson. Up to you. Do you know what a wacky move may be? Could you go, if you needed if you got 4 or 5 trades for those really lucky people, and you needed to do something maybe a little bit different to make an upgrade, you just need a little bit of cash, could you go even Big Kizza down to Luke Jackson, swap DCAM into the ruck, have Luke Jackson as that cover type player, maybe that F7 type, and with a little bit of money, that's what you may need to upgrade to another Uber Premium somewhere. Just throwing a random idea out there. I wouldn't look to do it, but hey, who knows, may work for you. Alright, not really interested in anyone here. Young with a 69. Mills with a 50. So we had a question earlier on about Callum. Do we trade him out? Actually, look, I was probably too harsh on him, wasn't I? Apart from that 50, man, like you've got 106, 99, 84, 107. I was very harsh. I thought that there was another 50 or 60 odd in here somewhere. So, do you know what? I may backtrack on that. So we've got the Giants this week. Gold Coast, Adelaide, Melbourne. Yeah, I may backtrack on that. I'm going to switch to Titch. I'll double check what Titch is up to these days, but maybe Titch I'll swap to there, man. Williams, Richie, no. Yo, just nah, wouldn't go there. The Seagull. Talk about the Seagull making a comeback. Well done after last week, son. Look, decent price for potential. Harry Himmelberg. Yeah, look, you don't love having him in your side, do you? That swing, though, does help. Has signed on as well, which is nice. The Red Dog, sorry for anyone winning him last week. I did recommend him as a potential trade-in at a really, really cheap price. Things just didn't work for him. Wiedering, way too much of a pod. No to Joey. Mitch McGovern out with a hamstring. Sard, 74. What happened to him? Just fell off a cliff. Had a fantastic start to the season. Shuey, I think he needs to retire. Just call it a day, mate. Great career, but with your soft tissues, it's... Yeah, I think it's time. That's pretty disrespectful. Sorry, mate. That is very disrespectful from me, just calling time on a great man's career. Captain of the club, or ex-captain of the club. Is he still the captain? I don't even know. He's just never out there, Shuey. It's just, yeah, really unfortunate his body's let him down. Richards comes back in. Ash, probably not. Grundy, see you at Port next year. All right, Titch. 98 last week. 423. Probably price. Oh, no, but you can afford any player, you said in that question, didn't you, mate? Jeez, it's like they're so on par, aren't they? Titch and Callum. I'd probably keep Mills still after looking at that, mate. Brandon Ellis, 124, but look, that average hasn't done much. Millerer, too risky for me. Wouldn't go Rivers, Dixon, Barras, Verde, Maynard. No. All right, I think we're getting into pretty dodgy territory. Rory Atkins, hasn't this bloke come back from the dead? Ollie Wine's never been a fan of the pick for the season. Look at this. Gone right back down there now. No way to Ollie. Rat Bailey, back good for us. Danger, just nailed his body. Taron Thomas, 60 last week, could be worth a shout. Alright, I think we're pretty much... Bad luck to Kitty, he's out as we saw. Zorko, hopefully the bruising's gone down, mate. Peanut, g'day Peanut. See you, Peanut. Look, I don't think there's going to be much else to talk about. We did talk a little bit about George Hewitt, Leighton Hewitt, as Brent would call him, last night. You got Windy there, who's decent cover, but you're not buying into any of these blokes. Yeah, I just don't think we're doing anything here, apart from maybe someone like a Georgie Hewitt. In regards to those real, rookie type price players, let's go right down. We'll just take a quick look. I really don't know what's going on. I think you'll have young Nankervis, not Toby, but the Luke variety on the bubble. All right, so who played last week? So Kyle Lohman, 134. This is 1,000 price range, 134k. Luke Nankervis, so 47 last week. He's a mid forward. Name this week. Here's probably the bloke that you go for, I'd say. Ball Ace has been named to debut in the back line. No one else seemed to have played last week. There may be a couple of debutants, so maybe keep an ear out for those blokes. Oh, Vesentini, he's a ruckman from Port. Lysette was managed, dropped, I don't know. Vesentini hasn't done anything of note. 15 for Cadman. Wow, he's 121. He's lost 85k, dead set. Wowee. Might be cheap for us next year, not that we'd probably go there. Coulthard, okay, so Coulthard... Yeah, well, here's that cheapest chip option. And look, he may be subbed out this week, but he's not actually starting as a sub. So you may just want to go him as a forward at 102k. Well, here's the cheapest option you got there. Stanley again may come on as a sub, not too sure. Brandon Ryan has been named, so you're probably just going to go one of these cheap blokes, aren't you? But remember, if you're just looking for someone to loop, don't go one of these blokes. Go this man most likely here, Tyrell. But why bring in a loop? You've got... I'm sure that everyone's got non-playing players. So, look, guys, I reckon that is pretty much going to be it, I think, for the video. So, went through the teams. No major news there, but just double-check those. Make sure that you look out for the subs, any laid-outs before the game. Went through all the mailbag questions as well. So, thanks very much to everyone that left a question through there. We did a bit of a mini stocky. Wasn't anything like I usually do, but hopefully we've discussed a few names. There were a couple of other questions. Who am I looking to start next year as a bit of a wacky starting pick or someone that's outside the box? Now, I'm not going to claim this. This was Shorty's man. I'm just going to throw a quick name, and he's missing this week and a miss for the next couple of weeks, and that is Kitty Coleman. So, with Richie out next year, and I'm assuming the bloke's going to retire, and keep in mind, I know what you're probably saying as well, he has been out for a fair while now, and Kitty still hasn't set the world on fire. I think he's had a few fitness issues this year. Things just haven't gone right. There's been a few things that haven't gone right. Something I can't really say, which may or may not be true. I didn't hear it firsthand. But anyway, nothing that he's done wrong, mind you, as well. But I really like him as a pod selection next year. He's going to present value. He'll be obviously available in our defensive line. I think that he's going to be the main kicking taker come next year as well. He's got that raking left foot, just like Daniel Rich, not on Rich's level, but a very, very nice lethal left foot. And I think he's come to that point in his career where it's time for him to go, do you know what? I'm going to start to really take over this back line now. Okay, I'm not a fringe player anymore. I'm entrenched in the 22. It's time for me to really step up and just turn into one of the elite players of the competition. When I say elite players of the competition, I'm not talking automatic All-Australian form, but I really do think he's got the talent and the potential to be one of the better halfbacks in the comp. I really do. Maybe biased because I absolutely love the man. My little fella Maxi, we got the boys the Indigenous jumpers. Maxi is going Kitty, and Nashman is going Charlie Cameron. So they also want to get another one because they also really love Kalachi as well. So yeah, shout out to all the Indigenous players from the Lions. Love you blokes. You're all absolute rippers. So I don't even know what I was saying there, guys. I am buggered from work, I'd tell you. I need to sit down, have a bit of a cup of tea, I think, with the wife, Lisa, have a bit of a chat with the boys, and just debrief from SuperCoach. So that's it for this week, guys. All the best of luck. I know that the interest is certainly waning at the moment, but oh, sorry, that's what I was doing. I was talking about, geez, I'm losing my mind. I was talking about some pod picks for next year. So Kitty is one of them. In regards to some other pods, as I mentioned before, I'm not really looking to go too outside the box, but over the next week or two, I will start to collate a few names and may even dedicate a small, even a 10-15 minute video to some potential starting pods next year. So thanks again for all the questions, guys. I'll love you and I'll leave you there, and I will see you in whatever the next video is. All the best, guys. See you soon. Bye.